Welcome back to the MaiL Massive Open Online course.
Hello, my name is Jesús Torralba. I am a PhD student in Geomatics Engineering in the Geoenvironmental Cartography and Remote Sensing group at the Polytechnic University of Valencia, Spain. I have participated in the MaiL project as a secondee, and in the following subsection we'll analyze the classification scheme of marginal lands according to their productivity followed in the MaiL project, and we'll carry out a practical exercise.
Now we summarize the information that we have. On the one hand, in section 2.2 we identify the marginal lands areas by excluding hard layers. In other words, we delimited the marginal lands. On the other hand, in section 2.3 we have studied and processed the different soft layers where there are thresholds that make certain areas less productive. The next step will be the combination of both layers to obtain the areas identified as marginal with different values or degrees of marginality. Finally, we will explain the marginal classification scheme followed in the MaiL project. The workflow you see on the left is designed to produce the final marginal land layer combining the hard raster layer and the soft threshold layers. The workflow has three key operations. First, the overlapping of the soft layers, where we have to pay special attention to the projection system of the layer and the snap between them. It should be noted that this operation is subject to modification, and you can add or remove indicators depending on your interest. Next, the soft layers are clipped with the hard layer. This operation results in all potentially marginal areas with the raster values fluctuate between 0.12, which represent the most marginal areas, and 6.86, which represents the left constraint of the less marginal areas. And in third place, the raster is reclassified in three classes: marginal land with high plantation sustainability, marginal land with low plantation sustainability, and potential unsustainable lands. We are going to stop at the third step. Probably the most interesting option is to know the values that we have in each point. That is, to know what is the pixel value between 0.12 and 6.86, since the lower value means that the indicators have a very low score and consequently are the most marginal areas. The highest score is the lower marginality. In the figure you can see a representation of the gradient obtained in the application of all the soft constraints in Spain. In this case, the white color represents the non-marginal areas. But anyway, in the MaiL project, we wanted to make a classification in three categories depending on the sustainability of the land for plantation. And for that, we followed three methodological approaches that you can see in the table. The first one, method A, is to calculate the maximum and minimum value obtained in the marginal land layers and divided the difference by 3. This will obtain through range of equal magnitude. The second, method B, is to calculate the 25th and 75th percentile of the value obtained in the marginal land layers. And the third one, method C, is to calculate the 33rd and the 66th percentiles of the value obtained in a marginal land layer. Finally, we will have a raster with three values that represent the three marginal land types for each of the methods. In this slide, we can see how the distribution of the three marginal land categories changes depending on the method used. For example, in method A, there are more areas classified as potential unsustainable lands than in method C, where there are more areas with the category of marginal land with high plantation sustainability. In conclusion, there is no optimal methodology to classify these three types of marginal land, depending on the final use of the application of the map. Different thresholds and the different indicator will have to be defined. since there is no a definition that clearly delimits the three classes. But this is true that this classification gives us a vision of the limitation and opportunities of the territory. It is important to mention, although we are not going to do it in this section, that every classification must end with a validation. In the MaiL project, we use different points provided by the consortium experts to analyze the accuracy of these results, and you can consult the document related to this analysis in Deliverable 2.4, available on the MaiL project website. Here are the documents that have been cited during the presentation. Thank you for your attention and see you in the practical exercise.